some context into play on all those commodities. Pete McGuire, Chief Market Strategist, MXT Global with me. Pete, good morning to you. Let's kick off with crude.
Good morning, Carson.
The only kind of the upside story on Brent and the link into Ukraine, it's not been terribly kind of wild.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
And we need to put our mind across that. You know, the Brent market very much from that geopolitical concern as far as Ukraine, Crimea, and certainly Russia. What's happening there? And we're seeing the Brent market edge higher, while you're seeing a turnaround in the WTI market that's edging lower. I think it's a day-by-day proposition. Let's see what happens over from that geopolitical concern. It can only push, I think, the Brent market probably to 112, 114 if something starts to really take shape there, for the worse as far as Russia's concerned, for the better. But at the moment, there's certainly a premium built in there from a geopolitical.
Do you see this as denting growth prospects for Europe? What's the kind of spillover?
No, not really. I mean, we're heading into the summer, well, certainly autumn. It's been a shocking winter, and that's behind us now as far as that Eastern Europe, and of course Europe itself, and for the northeast of America. So I think that you're going to see a continual, uptick there. Generally, a turnaround as far as economic numbers, and that will continue. But certainly that geopolitical, that's the main frame at the moment that everyone's, front and centre approach, and they're very much, concerned with what's actually happening there.
Okay, the Goldman's call on ore, looking pretty grim. What's their track record like?
Yeah, patchy. I'd say most of the big banks have been patchy for the last, when you look back over 25 years, from currency forecasts, and I'm not being critical of them, but it's damn hard to put a forecast number. Goldman's are saying you're going to see $80 for 2015 as far as an ore price, currently at 104. I think everyone's very much front and centre as far as what's happening with this shadow banking issue, and if that starts to really escalate, we're looking at could be a liquidity crisis out there in China.
Do you believe that? Because, I mean, it's really kind of a bifurcated market, isn't it? You've got the state behemoths, the state backing, you've got the others that kind of, there's been no pricing of risk. People have been buying a yield story regardless of fundamentals.
Yes.
That's a very immature bond market.
Yes, it is, but I think that you've got such a huge vast pool as far as the shadow banking in all forms of real estate, and of course the steel mills, some of them are going to that as far as funding, so that creates issues in itself.
Weren't they unproductive, the ones that are being shut down in any event? I mean, is this not the kind of consolidation we needed to see?
Yes, but remembering that if you're going to see ore prices cheaper, it's going to be far more value for those companies to reignite themselves. And at $90 or $85, it's a lot better buying than paying $120 or $140 for a tonne. So that all has to be played out, but it's very interesting. I think that whole dynamic, really, what is going on with shadow banking.
Okay, across all of this is the gold price.
Nearly 13.50 an ounce.
It's not running on inflation. It's purely what?
Oh, geopolitical. I think it's had a very strong uptick since the start of the year, up 12%. So no one can 12% in around about 10 or 11 weeks. Very, very strong. And I think that it will continue because what's happening as far as that Ukrainian issue. If that, as I said, it flows into the crude oil markets. If it does gain a little bit more traction as far as Russia's perseverance with the whole matter, you may see 1360, 1370. I wouldn't be surprised. Many people are saying that we're at that forecasted high for 2014, but to achieve it this early in the year, I think sometimes you've got to take those glasses off and look at a new number.
Well, would you want to take some money off the table and just recognise as some, I'm looking at CIBC, London-based analysts saying, look, the valuation multiples for these related companies have been expanding.
Sure.
They prefer to just take a bit of a backseat.
You never go broke taking a profit, and that's very evident in these markets. And it's had a very strong move. 12% is just very, very solid. Is there more upside? You can't discount the fact as far as geopolitical, and that really is the unknown tiger in the woods. So, just let's wait and see how it all rolls forward over the next couple of weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it higher from here.
Okay, there's one trade that has been a rip-roar. You never go broke buying a cup of coffee every morning. It's kind of a mainstay. Coffee, yeah. You've found kind of nirvana in a city, Sydney, right, where you can stand and deliver.
For $1 an espresso.
Yes, that's well documented. But, you know, the begs the question, that's an isolated story. What does it do to, you know, broader, you know, habits, trends, this,
well,
that,
have
or
a
the
look.
other?
I mean, the coffee market's up 85, just on about 85% in the last 7 or 8 weeks. And we've had those concerns as far as Brazil and the weather issues over there. We were running at around about $1.15 a pound. Now it's at $2.05 a pound. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were on the show together, and I said, look at it about $1.55, $1.60. I said, there's further upside here. Hold on and hang on, because it's explosive. Well, it's certainly delivered from that at $2.05. It's up around about 35% in 3 weeks. I think there's probably more out there, but as you mentioned, never go broke taking a profit. Always consider that, but there could be a little bit more to run in that coffee market. And that just shows the pure volatility in all of these markets. And it's a lot of people aren't aware of that. But you see the iron ore price, it's had a very large collapse. You've seen what's happening in gold. You've seen crude oil. Run it across to the grains, and it's very interesting.
It just shows it's never a one-way.
Far from it.
In any event. Pete, thank you so much.
Thank you, Carson.
Chief Market Strategist, Economist at MXT Global, no less. We'll take a very short break.